Thank you for joining me today. My name is Julian Cox. I'm the founder of Sees It Health Matters, and I'd just like to thank you for joining me today on this workshop entitled It Begins with Hope. Just to let you know that perhaps like yourself, I also have chronic pain. Mine is titled idiopathic autonomic neuropathy, along with small fiber neuropathy and hypohidrosis and anhidrosis. So the question is, how did I get this way? Well, you see, my journey into chronic pain began back in the year 2005, preferably around November timeframe, when my last tour to Iraq. It was my parting gift, if you would like to say, from the Army. It's like, thank you for your service, for your 8 years and 4 months plus service. Here's some chronic pain and enjoy your civilian life. Of course, it wasn't exactly like that. But however, it wasn't a great way to depart the service, especially since my first tour to Iraq during the invasion back in 2003, I was perfectly fine. One thing I'd just like to share with you as a common theme, I was told when I would go to the VA to see my primary care provider. She didn't tell me this, but some of the staff she worked with, they didn't mean anything wrong when they say that, you might as well get used to being this way because you're most likely going to be like this for the rest of your life. And that's not something that really sat very well with me. And because that didn't sit too well with me and I didn't let it entrench itself into my thinking, I was able to turn my situation around. I've gone from being in excruciating pain all the time to the state that I'm in right now where I'm not always in pain. And on top of that, I haven't been on my narcotics that the VA prescribed me for the last 4 years now, and I only continue to see improvement. And really the point that I'm trying to drive home with you is because I had hope and I didn't give up, I was able to do something for myself and change my situation, which is the whole purpose of this workshop, is to instill in you that same hope and encourage you that there is something that you can do. But first of all, I'd just like to ask you one question. And that question is, how do you, or actually, what does it mean to you to have hope? Go ahead and take a minute to think about that. Once you have your answer, I have another question for you. My next question to you is, how do you define hope? Just go ahead and please take a little bit of time to think about that. How do you define hope? And I believe both questions are very important questions to ask and to consider. Now I'd like to share with you in this next slide how I define hope. And hopefully after this workshop is over, it'll be a new type of definition you'll adopt for yourself as far as hope is concerned. So here you have it, my definition of hope. Helping ourselves persevere through endless determination. I'm persuaded that just as love is a verb, that so is hope. Hope is something that is innate, something that is within each and every one of us. It sees the reality of the situation, but does not accept the finality of it. You may notice that hope also begins with you, us, taking action. Others are able to inspire us, but nobody else can live for us and achieve the things that only we can. Hope also ends on the strength of our will to succeed. Others may cheer us on from the sidelines, but only we can finish the course or the track that we've been given or assigned to overcome. And therefore, it is my goal in this workshop to give you some simple steps just to help you accomplish this and also to stir up that hope that is already within you. And the very first step in accomplishing this is the realization of I. And that step begins with, I can do something about my situation. That's the first thing that must be realized. And as you just take the time to just read over it, I'll give you about a minute or so where you can just take your time and read over these bullets. There's not very many of them. But when you finish, I would like you to write down at least 3 things that you can do for yourself to alter the state that you're in for the better. Just 3 things. Take a minute or two to think about those 3 things. If you don't have a sheet of paper, maybe take a mental note of it. But if you do have a sheet of paper, I'll shut up for just a second. Hopefully that was long enough for you to go ahead and procure a pen or pencil and scribble something down. If you have Windows 7, just use your little digital notepads and you can just type down 3 things that you can think of to help make your situation better right now. Now the next thing I want you to do, just as important as the first, is write down when you will put these into action. Not when you're going to procrastinate, but when you're going to put these into action. Alright, you finished with that? Okay. As you've probably noticed, this is not one of those dry, drawn out lectures, but this is more of an interactive tool to help encourage you to take action for yourself. And while there's nothing wrong with you seeking assistance from someone else, the thing is, if you were to fall down right now and a friend of yours were to reach their hand down to help lift you up, if you stick both of your hands out to grab their one hand and allow them just to pull you up, they're supporting all of your weight. If you don't take the time to put the other hand down, the push up from the ground, while you're reaching out to grab their hand and allow them to pull you up, then you're completely and totally dependent upon them. And really what I'm getting to is it creates a mentality of always looking outside of self for help or for strength in order to accomplish whatever it is that you're dealing with. And just to put this into perspective, for us that have chronic pain, it creates a total dependency on running to someone, like a medical practitioner, or maybe it's a chiropractor, or maybe it's an acupuncturist, which, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with seeking help. But what I'm getting at is this mentality that is created of sticking out both hands to receive that one hand that's extended down to pull you up, is that mentality of there's nothing I can do for myself, or I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, there's just nothing I can do. I have to. I just have to go run to somebody. I have to go to my doctor. I have to take these drugs, and I have to stay on these drugs. But my question to you is, what happens when that avenue of hope's been stripped away from you? What happens when there's no one for you to go running to? There's just no one around. What happens when your soul mentality is always focused on seeking help from somebody else and there's nobody there to help you? What do you do? That's what I'm getting at too. You know what happens? I'll just tell you what happened with me. I reached a point in dealing with my own condition where I felt kind of hopeless. I felt like, man, maybe I will be this way for the rest of my life. Maybe it's just not worth trying to do anything. And as you begin to think that way, those negative thoughts bring a lot of extra baggage with them. Your body kind of does this funny thing where it starts to play that out. It plays it out physically, and then the pain just seems to hurt a whole lot more than it used to hurt. And the longer you stay entrenched in that negative thought pattern and feeling hopeless and more hopeless, the worse things get. That's what I'm dealing with right now, is that thought pattern. And that thought pattern begins with you sticking out both hands instead of putting one hand down, realize that, you know what,
I do have enough strength to kind of push up off the ground while they're pulling me up, because it splits your your thinking. Your thinking is, okay, I'm exerting effort while I'm also receiving help. So it's like a proper balance of getting help from outside while also creating the help on the inside. There's no total dependency on just self. There's not a total dependency on an outside force. Now, the next thing is, I want you to realize that it's not your fault that you are in the state that you're in, but it is time for you to take responsibility for it. Without taking responsibility for your condition right now, it creates another negative thought pattern. The kind of negative thought pattern where you're always looking back on the who, the what, and the how, and the why it happened. Well, 5 years ago, that drunk driver hit me with the car, and I have a problem in my back, and I've been this way for 10 years. I pause because I just want you to kind of think about what I just said. That's there for all of you who aren't really here in the moment. So let's just stop before I continue on. I want you to... There you go. Take a breath. Take one more breath. Open your eyes. If you had your eyes closed, open them. If you didn't have them closed, that's great. I want you to be present, because you're not going to get absolutely anything out of this if you're not present. You know, it's kind of easy since this is recorded and I'm not standing right here in front of you. I know you got to see my wonderful, handsome face just a slide or two ago, but now you don't get to see my face. You'll get to see my face in the close, though, all right? But I want you to be present. It's very important that you're present and you're really receiving this information that I'm giving you, because this is for you. This is here to help you do something for yourself. Now, if you're always looking back at how everything happened and constantly going back and forth at the accident that took place and the people that were involved in it, or maybe you didn't have anything to do with it, you were just an innocent bystander, and then such and such happened, and now you've been in chronic pain for 20, 30 years, or 10, 15 years, or 5 years, or even if it's a year, it's time for you to take responsibility for your state of being right now. Once again, we're going back to, there's something that you can do for yourself right now. And that's where I'm trying to get to. All you need to do is just accept that, okay, I have a problem right now. I have this such and such chronic pain. Okay, so it was started this way. It happened so many years ago. So what? Okay, I'm not belittling any of that, but let's get the focus on the right now, on what I can do right now. And what's gonna cause us to start thinking forward. And as we begin to think forward, naturally our body is gonna move forward, and that's what I want to do. And having said all that, it's time for us to move forward into step 2, being resolute. Okay, here we are. Step 2, being resolute. You know, the first point I have there says, don't look at the now, look to tomorrow. We kind of covered that a little bit. But I'm not going to go point for point here on this slide. What I want you to do is go ahead and finish reading over the next few points. I'll pause for a moment. All right. Now, I'd just like you to sit still, or if you're already sitting, remain sitting. I'd like you just to close your eyes. You got your eyes closed yet? And now taking a deep breath. Hold it. Let it out. Taking another deep breath. Hold it. Now let it out. Keep your eyes closed. Now I want you to visualize yourself standing in front of a mirror. And while you're standing in front of that mirror, I want you to take in everything that you see about you right now. I want you to take in every nap in your head.